Small HBCUs matter too.
Let's go!
It's the Division II HBCU Roundup on HBCU Pulse Radio.
D2, I saw you made it down the miles yesterday. What did it look like?
I didn't go down the miles. I watched it. I ended up going to Alabama State. I just didn't get up early enough to finish doing what I had to do to go to miles. But to y'all point about them streaming, a lot of coaches around in this conference, because we got a lot of positions still open, position coaches still, folks still looking, because I know like Albany State is looking for a linebacker coach. I'm not sure if we hired a D-line coach. Like there's a lot going on, and then there's this absentness of SIDs in this conference, and and they leave so quick till I've just stopped trying to build relationships with them, because they'll be at a school for a month and then I look up, they're going to another school. So we're the conference as a whole pretty much is having a real hard time right now with keeping up, and getting information out there. Edward Waters has a good guy. He's been down. He's solid. So to see Miles stream, that was big. And I will say that Miles, from what I've seen so far, as from a production standpoint, they're still real shaky at that quarterback position. I mean, it's still, I don't know, but they are better. They're in a better spot than they were last year this time. I can say that. Can they be competitive? Yeah, because I'm not really sure that their offensive line will see the defensive line as tough as their own defensive line to go through the conference. Outside of Benedict's defensive line, and Fort Valley, I'm not sure they have Fort Valley on the schedule this year. But
I don't think so.
So that's gonna be one break for them. Defensively, they still look strong. A few pieces that they need. They only have 4 wide receivers right now on the roster, so I'm sure he's looking to address that. But they, they were competitive. I can tell you what, that Miles team that I saw at the spring game could have beat Bama State by 3 touchdowns. They could beat Bama State by 3 touchdowns easily.
So what's going on at Bama State?
Williams, as a ski guy, that's my guy. But I'm just saying,
Coach Williams.
They look like Morehouse. That's what they look like. They look like a Morehouse offense. Is what they look like.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you this: don't bank on seeing a bad Morehouse offense this year.
I'm slowly looking at some of the pieces that he's pulling together. And I will say, he's been really active, and that coaching staff has they've been really active, and they're getting guys.
He gets some dudes.
They get some guys out there, to go with the core that was there. Because I never thought Morehouse was just extremely bad. You know what I'm saying?
Me neither.
It's just like they were just missing a gear to get them going. It was because it's year before last. They 0-5, they go and they play Skiggy and they wake up. And they take Albany State, they play that game really tight. So you're looking at I think you're looking at for the conference. What Morehouse will be, I plan on going to see them Saturday. That's my plan.
Let me know if you come. We can sit together because I'm gonna be there.
Okay.
I went down to the scrimmage yesterday that they had. They didn't look bad.
Okay.
It's the energy that they have on this year's team is so much different from the past 2-3 years. Wilcher, he got them in gear. He holding them accountable. A lot of the kids that went into the transfer portal actually withdrew from the portal. So he got a really solid core. The offensive coordinator, he's from Stetson. He was down at Stetson the past few years, and they rewrote their record book when he was down there. They ain't bad. He's trying to load up on not on DBs, on defensive linemen and linebackers. He got a all-state South Carolina Player of the Year linebacker that just committed to him yesterday at the scrimmage. Kid is about 6'2", 230. They got a running back who transferred in from Tennessee State. He's playing baseball right now. And this kid is every bit of 6'2", 235, 240 playing running back. And he's out of Georgia as well. And the quarterback play, from what I saw yesterday, was better than last year as well. They're gonna run a lot of spread. They're gonna throw the ball, but they're gonna run the ball. They're gonna run a lot of 3 wides. They got a tight end H-back transfer from Skeggy, D2. And this kid's about 6'3", 6'4", about 215, and everything that they threw to him, he caught. So, he got some pieces that's returning, and he got some pieces that's coming. They really looking at the JUCO route as well. I'm thinking that they're gonna bring in about 35 to 40 players this next school year. But he's loaded. He's getting kids from Texas. He got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He got 7 commits from the Houston area.
I was noticing like how he was going into Texas because what's that guy he signed like midweek last week. I was looking at some of his film and I was like, okay, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, the wide receiver. He got 2 wide receivers coming from Texas, 2 D linemen, a linebacker, a quarterback, and another tight end that's coming from Texas that has committed. They haven't signed yet, but they had committed. I think the kid from Frisco has signed. But he's trying to put together some stuff. I can, just like I said, just the energy that they had yesterday just during the scrimmage. It was just, I was like, okay, all right, this right here is a little bit different than what it's been.
Yes, I'm gonna have to go back and try to piece together because I was, like it's just so hard. The games that you don't get a chance to go and get your eyes on, it's so hard to pull anything from. Of course, we don't have spring rosters. We don't, we struggle to come up with what we know. So I went to Clark last week before last, whenever it was.
Well, I went down there on that Thursday.
Yeah,
and Slade and them didn't look bad. They still small on the defensive line.
Still small on that defensive line. And I'm going to tell you what bothers me about Clark. I would think that by now, that quarterback position is what's bothering me with Clark. Can they? I just don't know with what they have on up front on the offensive line and what they have up front on the defensive line. I just don't know if they can hold up with the games that they have on their schedule. Now, if they would have got one of these draws like some of the other schools have, like I think Benedict has a pretty good draw of teams to run. When people talk about who I look to favor to repeat, just by the schedule, I think Benedict has enough to get through who they have. The fact that Clark got to come down to us and Clark got to go, like they still got to play Albany State. I just don't know if they have enough up front. Like, can they replace those guys? Now, they got a lot of guys coming that they signed. Of course, this conference, they don't mind playing true freshmen.
No,
and I think,
not at all.
And I think the portal, how the other schools are, looking in that portal has kind of helped us to get better, more prepared high school players that would normally not come to us. So I think that bodes well. But the question is, can those high school guys get there and be in shape when they get there? Because it's going to be room for them to get out if they compete well to actually get some starting position. Especially Clark in that middle. And I mean, his number 47, I've been meaning to ask them what his name is for them. I mean, bruh has heart. He's just too small.
Yeah, he just little.
Yeah, I mean, he's
a dog, but he just little.
Yeah, I'm engaging. I mean, and he was whooping a lot of them linemen for Clark's tail. Man. He was getting them. But I'm just saying, you know, when they run up to them big boys at Albany State and Benedict, that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah. They just, you know, I was thinking that Slater would. I was thinking that he would really address that. You know, getting some size on the offense, on the defensive side. Yeah. But, you know, I was like, but damn, they're just as small as they was last year.
They're just as small. I think their linebacker core is pretty solid.
Yeah, the linebacker core is solid. Yeah. But you know, if you ever played football before, you look at your defensive line to keep guys off of your linebackers. But right now, they're just so small, I don't know if they can keep them off those linebackers, because their linebackers can run sideline to sideline as well.
Yeah. What's the one, Xavier? Xavier Hopkins. Yeah, bro. He's coming at you. He's you know, so they small. I got a report from one of my partners that went over to Benedict. He said that their offense is going to be a work in progress. Then I found out that Foster didn't play. So they was playing the red shirt kid and they played McCoy. So, you know, I think that the Foster kid is probably the number one QB going into the fall. He's been there a couple years. He even beat Miles down at Miles a couple years ago. But for some odd reason, he didn't play for the spring game. But Benedict is going to be Benedict. They got players at every position. That defensive line of theirs is hell. Yeah, it is hell. And that's the cheat code for them. Because the offensive play in this conference is bad.
Yeah, and I mean their defensive line is hell. They got good size. You know, they're not tremendously big, but they got good size. You know, 6'1", 265, 270. Then they just got a transfer that committed to them from St. Augustine's yesterday, who's going to really help on that defensive line in the middle. Kid named Marcus Davis, and he's two-time All-Conference in the CIAA. So he's gonna bring a little bit more oomph to them on that defensive line. Benedict's gonna struggle at the quarterback position for a couple weeks until till they can get it together. But once they get it together, they got skill positions. Their skill positions is just crazy. It's just speed on top of speed. I mean, it is crazy.
For me, what's going to be interesting is their second game. That Shaw game, to me, is going to be a toss-up because I don't know where Benedict is, and I don't know where Shaw will be. The CIAA is like one of them because they're just hard to read for me.
I'll say Shaw's not going to be nowhere. Benedict's winning that game. What you mean? Shaw ain't going to be nowhere. Shaw not bad.
I don't know now.
Adrian, Coach Jones at Shaw ain't bad, and they bring back a lot.
But I don't expect.
Yeah, funny enough, Shaw had their spring game this weekend.
Yeah, they played. Yeah, they had it yesterday.
But I'm not expecting a middle of the pack CIAA South team to beat our champion. You know, I think our champion is going to hold up. That's just personally me.
I'm going to tell you, I don't know if Shaw going to be middle of the pack this year in the CIAA. I think that the South is going to come down between them and Fayetteville.
Benedict by 30.
Coach.
That's what I'm saying, man.
I don't know, dog.
We gotta.
What's going on, Coach?
But that's our champion, man.
Not much, man. I've been listening. I'm driving, man. I'm on the highway, but I'm listening. Trust me.
I think it's gonna be a good game. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout one way or the other way. I think it's going to be a good game, but you can't discount Shaw. They're going to play. Coach Jones got a lot coming back, and they're going to play hard. And they play hard for him. The quarterback is back. Their top 2 receivers is back. The top 2 backs are back, and he got 3 or 4 offensive linemen back. And the core of the defense is back as well. They're not going to be bad.
Okay.
And I'm gonna say this. Benedict was last year's champion. I'll say that. And I'm gonna be really hard on Benedict until they get to week 2 and beat Edward Waters convincingly to me. They beat Edward Waters convincingly to me. I'll go back to like holding them up. I just don't.
Is their game in Florida? Their game in South Carolina?
It's in Florida.
But my thing is this. So like one thing about a champion is that, of course you have that experience. I know they lost Eric Phoenix, but at the same time, like you're bringing back championship players as well. Because everybody didn't graduate or leave. You know what I mean? Like you bringing back some good players and good pieces.
Exactly. Can I butt in real quick? I mean, we bringing back Luba Danellis. You talking about the SIAC Conference Defensive Player of the Year. Our defense really, I don't see that. And let me not speak on but I'm going to say Benedict's defense won't take nothing off. I mean, the defense is going to be top tier this year. I think for the most part, obviously losing a quarterback like Eric Phoenix, a guy that led the show last year for him, is going to be hard to, replace right away. But I think that, them getting a Gardner-Webb transfer, they got some pieces coming in. I think that quarterback room it may be a little bit better this year without Phoenix. I mean, and that's far-fetched, obviously, but I think that I think BC gonna shock a lot of people. I really do think Benedict beat Shaw by 30, just because again it's still that championship mentality. I actually went up to Benedict 3 weeks ago, and man, it's different, man. People walking around in the football, facility saying "Go Tiger," like. You walk past them and they like, go Tiger. That's the first thing they greet you with. So it's just different, man.
So I from the defensive standpoint, I think Benedict is fine. Now, I've said this one time earlier before. I don't know. I was on somebody's show, and I said one of my biggest concerns, if Benedict is able to put another offense together and run through the conference the way that they ran through the conference last year, it is more so, and it is a hell of a coaching job by Barry, but it is also an indictment on every defensive coordinator in this conference to lose what they have lost on offense. Not just Eric Phoenix. You lost receivers. You lost the core of your offensive line. If they are able to come back and run through this conference again, I'm gonna need the defensive coordinators to take a real hard look at what.
But I have a question then. So do they necessarily have to run through the conference, or can they just win? Like, it might not be 40 points, but it might be a touchdown. It might be 2 touchdowns. It might be a field goal. But if they win, they win. A win is a win.
Now, I think that their defense is going to make it hard for anybody to score on them.
Right.
I was curious because one of the guys that I saw hit the transfer portal, they've had a couple of guys hit the transfer portal since the spring game. They lost the safety, the Williamson, whatever. I think that's his name. So it's just it's interesting. Everybody is evaluating. All the coaches are looking. Benedict set a standard last year. I think all the coaches are looking up there. Everybody just saw what that Benedict machine was. I think it's just going to be a little bit harder for them. And I'll go back to what I just solidly believe. Even though there isn't much noise coming out of the Fort Valley camp, but that makes me nervous. Because
you should be.
That's right, what makes me nervous. When you look at,
I'm just saying, we just waiting for Emmanuel Wilson to get drafted. Then we're gonna start talking. You feel me?
It's like I know when you look at Fort Valley toward the end of the season, take that Savannah State game out. Okay?
Yeah,
just take that game out, sit to the side.
Gladly.
I'm looking at Fort Valley. I'm looking at a team that has pieces to continue to build, as opposed to a team that has to come back and basically start over. That offensive line culture that was built at them calling themselves the Fist. that was still fairly new for a Benedict team. So if they come back and they're as strong, I'm not saying that they can't win because their schedule puts them favorably to win, in my opinion. I just don't think that they are going to be as dominant because of what they have lost on the offense, and not because it's a bad coaching job. It's just the truth of the matter is to get a bunch of guys that have never played with each other to gel again and have that same chemistry that you had last year. I think last year was magical for Benedict. And I honestly believe those seasons only come around ever so often. It's going to be some teams that, I think we got quality coaches around the conference that ain't going to sit back and Benedict going to just run through them again.
My only thing about the dominance is in sports in general is that dominance happens, but when you have like talent and great coaching and competitiveness around the conference, sometimes it's not dominance. Sometimes it's just a team just rises above the pack. So I mean, I don't really need for Benedict to be dominant for me to say, hey, they're good. They just need to be good. They just go out there, play the brand of football that they played last year. Have a great defense, and then contend against the teams they need to contend against. They play Fort Valley. I want to see them contend against Fort Valley. They don't play like a lot of tough teams on that schedule, but there's some games where it's like, hey, I don't expect you to beat Fort Valley like how you beat us at homecoming last year. But if you're a champion and you really want to get back where you need to be, I do expect you to be competitive in that game. I do expect you to be competitive in that one game.
Against Benedict this year.
You said you got who?
I got Fort Valley winning 10-7 against Benedict.
10-7. Wait, in 2023 or 1960?
No, 2023.
10-7.
Yeah. Hey, now it's funny you say that, D2, because I was thinking about Benedict and how they scored this year, right? What you're talking about as far as their offense and losing Eric Phoenix on offense, and just kind of circling back to that Shaw game or even Fort Valley, two high-scoring offenses. We saw Shaw start off the season like 6-1 last year and pretty much was leading the CIAA South for a minute. These are two high-tempo, octane offenses. When they go against Benedict, there isn't necessarily going to be that Eric Phoenix on the other side of the ball still scoring touchdowns, moving the rock how he can through the air and on his feet. So I do have questions about Benedict in some big games where the offenses might be a little more high-powered than Benedict. Benedict tends to really run like a type of ball control offense, and they take their time with it, and they rely on that defense and that front seven. I'm not really sure if relying on that front seven is going to help them in a lot of these big games like Fort Valley, the Shaw game. I know they dodged Albany this year, but I do have questions about Benedict offensively just because they lose their quarterback.
Yeah. Well, a lot about them with Shaw. Shaw, and one thing about the SIAC historically against the CIAA, we've had our lumps. We've had our struggles, even with the bad ones, and Shaw is no Elizabeth City that they play.
They ain't Leeds City.
And I can tell you just years that Tuskegee has just completely dominated the SIAC, and then you go down to Mobile and Shaw punches dead in the mouth. We have our struggles with the CIAA. Now, however, one thing about it, Benedict competes with those schools for recruits.
Yep.
Okay, so you see them go after the same type. So you look at the guys that Benedict signed. Most of those guys had CIAA offers from Shaw and those schools. So I think that's going to be a game. So you probably got a lot of guys that got teammates that they played in high school. So I think that game is going to be a lot bigger than a lot of people probably just look at it on the schedule and just from on site and just be like, okay, Benedict versus Shaw, what is that? I think that game has a lot to it, and I also think the following week has a lot to it because Edward Waters has just listen, their players write me every day. Every day is a player from Edward Waters writing me talking about it's something different about this team. It's something different about this team. I hear them, I just okay.
I believe it.
And then I messed around and saw some of their sides, and I saw just a play. first game first game was curious, man, because you got Miles and Lane play rather than now. I just can't fuck that. Every game now is it matters. You know what I'm saying? Unlike when we had divisions, we could lose to Fort Valley and say, okay, we'll see them again. But we can't lose the Fort Valley first game because it'll be hard.
Well, I totally get what you're saying, but y'all gonna lose, man. I'm sorry. We love y'all, man. But
Let me tell you something. I can say now we're not losing to Fort Valley. We're not losing to Fort Valley. I just want you to know that we're not losing so exciting this season. So we can just go ahead and crown champs if y'all want to. But we're not.
We're not gonna do that. Okay,
we're not losing to Fort Valley.
Listen, that first game on ESPNU, we don't know how people are gonna watch it because we don't got the ratings numbers for ESPNU or whatever channel's gonna be on ESPN. But we just know the final numbers is gonna be Fort Valley winning. It might be a close game, but we know Fort Valley gonna win.
I want to bring up Tuskegee spring game because I know when y'all say like not streaming. Tuskegee has, let me tell you, the offensive coordinator for Fort Valley. He put some eyes up under that post, but Tuskegee has the best quarterback room in the conference. Just top to bottom. Either one of those guys that we have in the room could go and start at the majority of the other schools in the conference with ease. We have a sophomore that I have no idea. I'm so glad that somebody ain't got in his ear and got out of there because, my God, it's a lot of schools that need him. And especially the school right up the road where he came from. We have we're still and he gets in trouble because sometimes he's gun ho and he'll throw innocent who got in bitch last season. Solid. And the next one, Malik Davis, he's really solid. So from a quarterback position, I think that we have the better quarterbacks in the conference. What we're lacking a defensive line, and we're lacking in the offensive line. Those are our points. Our wide receivers are fine. Our linebacker core, they're really solid. Then we had to transfer in from Miami. He's come on. We always gonna keep a transfer there, but as a whole, I think where Tuskegee is, they have a full season because last year we couldn't have a spring game. We didn't have enough guys to have a spring game last year. So they're trending forward. Just can we solidify that offensive line in time? Can we get them stronger? You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't see a lot of things that I saw last season that I didn't like, all them choppy steps that they were making, but they were just young. So I really feel like Tuskegee, as a whole, from the offense that I've seen so far, I can't speak on Albany State because for what I saw from Albany State, they look like Albany State. I don't even want to think about them at the moment. But from what I saw from Miles, from Clark, he just seems to be look a step ahead of one side thing. But once again, like I've heard Benedict camp, and I think Benedict's defense is probably going to be ahead of a lot of people than they are. And like you said, their offense is a work in progress. But most people's offenses, they are a work in progress this time of year.
Yeah, and then another thing is too, when you return a quarterback, it's so much easier. When you return a quarterback or you return a quarterback who played a lot, you know, it's just so much easier for the guys. Like I said, the Foster kid is probably going to be the QB1 going in the fall camp. I actually think that the McCoy kid will probably take over at some time.
Could you hear me?
Yes, again.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I was asking about Bryson Williams, quarterback. I don't know if I couldn't hear you guys. I just asked about his development.
Bryson, he's better, and I think Nettles makes him better. To have someone that close, that your job is just at risk at any moment, it's driving him to be better. So, what I wanted to really see, that vertical game for Tuskegee, I don't know, like when Benedict jumped out on us like 2 touchdowns at the championship game, and then he came back out on that next drive, and I meant 45-yard pass down the field, and it is there. He's accurate. Our problem was, could we give him time to just sit his feet? I'm always talking about giving him that next second. Could Skiggy, could the offensive line give Bryson another second? That's going to be the big question, because he's an accurate thrower. But to be honest with you, I like the sophomore. I like the Davis kid. The Davis kid, to me, is more accurate. I think he went like 21 out of 24 against Clark. That was the only game that he started in. He played in another game. I can't remember which one, but he played another one. But that Clark game was like his breakout game. I mean, he just picked Clark apart. Just as a whole, that quarterback unit, they just seem a little bit better than they were last year, and I think that gives Tuskegee a bigger edge. Can we stay out of now? One thing that they don't like about Bryson is the fact that some people say that he holds the ball a little too long, get the ball out faster, and maybe that aided into why we had the number of sacks that we had. I think we had 47, 48 sacks last year. So is he developed on that part enough? I can't say, because I don't think our defensive line is as good enough to see him with pressure enough, right? So that first game is going to be a big test. So ask me, has he developed after that first game with Fort Valley? Because of course Fort Valley defensive line is one of the best, and probably will be again one of the best in the conference. Mm-hmm. So to see him, how does he handle that?
And you know what's so crazy? Like I actually I feel like what you're saying is 1,000% solid, because we see that. You know what I mean? Like we clearly see, like, with how many points that Tuskegee put up, like that's solid. Like I believe that you're all gonna have the best QB room. But like you said, the defense is what we really got to look at, because those were shootouts. I mean, shootouts are fun to watch, but you really want shootouts for your team, and then you might be on the wrong end of that shootout.
No, we don't want any more shootouts. Okay, shootouts is what drove me insane last season, and who we had shootouts with. Okay, we had shootouts with Allen, we had shootouts with Central State, we had shootouts with Clark. Those are teams we do not want to have shootouts with. Okay,
man.
Hey D2. Hey D2. We got Coach Wilcher in the room. Hey, how you doing today, Coach Wilcher? You think you can give us a little preview of the squad this year down in Atlanta?
Yeah, Coach Wilcher, you are welcome to come up. All coaches are always welcome. I see we got all script in here too. And just welcome to the conference. I'm disconnected.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
I apologize.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say hello to you guys this evening. I just kind of popped in. I saw SIAC talk, so I'm just being nosy. I'm just trying to figure out what everybody else got.
Oh man.
So that's all. Just trying to be a little nosy. I'm sorry. What'd you say?
I said, we see you working down in Texas. We pay attention to who you get there. So we actually talked about you earlier about, just having you, what the energy will be like around that Morehouse program.
You know what? It's crazy. I've been doing this thing for 30 years, and I spent my first 3 at Morehouse. So the last 27, I've been all over the Northeast and now into Texas. So it's great because I know a lot of people, and people are always blowing me up with prospects, but it stinks too because you have so many friends, and you know how it is, everybody got the guy. But we can only take so many. So we're going to try and get the best 30 or so kids we can get and see if we can go to war with them.
Hey, Coach, quick question for you. How hard is it to recruit at Morehouse? I mean, with the academic requirements and, the football program not being, very prominent in the Division II level, but how hard is it to recruit?
Well, I tell you what, two-part question. So let's take the first part. Actual recruiting isn't really that hard. As you guys know, Morehouse is a national name. So, when I go into anybody's living room or reach out, people usually respond to me. And then from an academic challenge, Morehouse has its high academic standards, but I'll be honest, I've signed guys in the Ivy League and Patriot League who played in the NFL, and their standards aren't any higher than that. So I think we'll have a shot to compete.
Yeah, that's always one of the narratives around that program when people talk about how hard it is. So I appreciate Allscript for bringing that question up. So how has the fan base, the community, alumni, how have they embraced you since you've taken the job?
Man, it's crazy. It's so much love. I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm the first alum in 45 years to be head coach at Morehouse. So just that part of it is crazy. It's great to see all my old classmates and teammates coming out showing love. And we're just excited, finish up spring ball and get to the summer and get to the season. So it's been a lot of love, been received, I think, very well. And like I say, I think it's a little different when it's one of your own. And, I'm from Morehouse, so this is personal for me.
Coach, let me ask you a question, man. Let me chime in a little bit. What kind of traditions, you know what I mean? I know you being an alumni.
I hear a lot of good things. I can tell you that people who normally don't interact on the page, once you were announced, they have been interacting, and they believe that they're going to be able to talk some trash. So there are a lot of people will, happy to see someone that culture more out. I'm gonna see, so we're just in this one day out of the year, but I hope to have much success.
I appreciate that. Let me tell you this: when I was at Rice, I used to show my Rice kids Tuskegee highlights, ball and parlay. I'm like, this is how you really get down. I had to give the black kids at Rice some culture. So we used to watch y'all, and I'd be like, we got to get our people to be like this, and then we'll be all right.
Hey, Coach, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, Coach, my question to you is this. With you being an alumni, what kind of old traditions and stuff like that you going to bring back to the program? I'm interested in hearing some of the traditions, from Morehouse.
Honestly, it's crazy. So I haven't been to like a homecoming experience in 27 years. So I'm really not versed to any of the old traditions and probably a lot of stuff that we did when I played there. You probably can't do that anymore. At the NCAA probably made half that stuff illegal. But no, I'm just excited, man. I think one of the things I told the people when I was getting hired is one of my goals is I do not want to hear Reasons by Earth, Wind, and Fire. Because when I was a player, I swear every time we were losing, they would play Reasons by Earth, Wind, and Fire. So if for nothing else, we're going to be good so I don't have to listen to Reasons.
Coach, I apologize if this is a bad question. I've just kind of gotten to the SIAC's kind of stuff, and that's why I'm here trying to learn. But have you guys played your spring game? And if so, is it going to be on YouTube or is it going to be televised? Or
As far as I know, it's not going to be televised. It's going to be next Saturday, the 22nd.
Okay.
And Coach, do y'all have an SID right now?
Yeah, her name is Tatiana Stans.
Okay. I had to reach out. I'm coming up to check out the spring game. See where we all are. I've been to a couple already, and just trying to just get a feel, see what's there. Did you have a high turnover rate of guys in the transfer portal? Were you able to get those guys back?
I don't think it was too bad in the transfer portal. Honestly, our problem, and there's nothing I can really do about it. We don't have graduate classes, so when kids are done, if they have an extra year eligibility, then they're going to graduate and move on. So the role I've kind of played, and a lot of the young men I don't even know who are moving on, but they want to go someplace. I've just tried to counsel them on what is the best way to move on and basically how to play the game. You know what I mean? Like, too many of our kids go on and play that extra semester. For instance, so-and-so university wants them to come play, and they're going to pay for one semester of a master's. I told the kids that's not a good deal. That's a bad deal. What you need to do is go in there and negotiate and get them to pay for your whole master's so you can go play for one semester and then GA to finish up your master's. I was like, because we all know once you leave school, most people don't go back. So if you're in the school mode and you're going to get a master's, if you're really serious about a master's, make sure that wherever you're going, they pay for it. You got to make the system work for you.
Definitely. We've talked about that on the show a couple of times about not having those graduate programs. I'm trying to pull your schedule up right quick because there's something else I want to ask.
Hey, while you do that, let me ask Coach. Coach, some players that, I don't want you to, give it all up, but just some players that we should be on the lookout for that you're just like, hey, man, these guys are special and definitely should be on the lookout for next year on your team.
You know what? I would say, I think Dallas Johnson, running back, is going to be very solid for us. Brogan Corda, Marquez Pride, a couple of receivers, I think they're going to be real solid for us. Still shaping the O-line and defensively, Dalen Land, he's a force at linebacker. So I'll be excited to get him back on the field. I think DeJuan Wright up front and, probably Joe Gertman out back, a couple of guys. I think I have a chance to have some pretty good senior season or upcoming seasons rather. So, I think we have some guys with some ability. It's just getting all the pieces in the right places. And one thing I charge my coaches with is I don't want to ever put square pegs in round holes. If somebody can't do something, don't make them try and do it. Let's find out what they do well and let them do that, so we can maximize everybody's potential.
Coach, what is your approach on the transfer portal?
Prior to you coming to the conference, we had divisions, and so now we don't have the divisions, and we play the 8-game conference schedule. And I just happened to just look at your schedule, and Coach, y'all got a tough draw there. You start off with Virginia Union, the reigning CIAA champ. You go to Howard, then you have Albany State. You got Edward Waters, then you have the reigning SIAC championship, Benedict, then you have Tuskegee and Birmingham. That's pretty rough. That's
pretty rough. So don't be surprised if we come out wearing T-shirts that say anytime, any place. Right? We got to be in the right mindset.
I like that.
I'll be honest with y'all. When I was at UMass in the late '90s. That was like John Calipari's deal with Marcus Camby. They was like, anytime, any place. And that's kind of like the attitude I have. Like, I don't care. You know what I mean? And honestly, that oblong football, it don't know home and away. You know what I mean? Only thing you know is at the end of the day, we need to be on the right side of the scoreboard. So that's the only thing we're going to be concerned with. So, and then somebody asked me about the transfer portal.
Yes, Coach. What's your outlook? I mean, are you going to try to get guys? Are you going to try to win in the pool?
Well, I was asking about,
Hold on, D2.
Okay.
Transfer portal. So my philosophy is, be honest with you, we're probably going to try and take about 30 freshmen, and then I'm going to take 6 or 8 transfer portal guys, and I'm a firm believer, just from what we were able to do at Rice with transfers, I think they're to help you, but you should not build a program because you have to be real careful. You're bringing in hired assassins, basically. You haven't truly recruited these kids. You wine and dine them for 15 minutes, get them to come into your program. So you don't always know what you're bringing in because you didn't go through the whole recruiting process. And I've been on the wrong side of some kids. So you got to be careful because the last thing I want to do is bring in anybody into my program that could possibly destroy what I'm building. So I'm going to be real careful, probably 6 guys, maybe 8 at the max on transfers. But again, I'm just looking for them to be like, you put that obey on something. I just need the seasoning. I don't need them to be my foundation.
Talk to them, Coach. They don't know about that obey, baby.
Right. I just need a little obey. I just need a little something extra, but I don't need them to be my foundation. The foundation is what we have, and that's my job to build the foundation. That obey, that's just that little extra.
You from Maryland, Coach?
Nah, I'm actually from Chicago.
Oh, okay. I was about to say that's that Maryland right there. Go ahead, though.
So, but no, that's just my philosophy on transfers. I think, for us, we're going to be 6 to 8, and that's on the high side. I would hope in future years we could lessen that. If we're doing the right things, recruiting and developing our guys, then the transfer portal may be 1 guy or 2 guys a year. So that's my
Coach,
thing.
question for you. You going to look at JUCO guys? Because I know it seems like JUCO guys are getting put on the back burner just a tad bit now that they have the transfer.
If somebody else talking, I think if Coach Thomas I can't hear you if that's you talking.
Yeah, he's talking.
Okay.
You know what? And that was one thing we did a great job of at Rice, right? We did a great job of, when we say transfer portal, mentally, I'm talking about JUCOs and bounce back players. So we did a great job of finding a couple of JUCOs. And really, when I was at Rice, defensively, we mostly took JUCOs. Offensively, they took bounce back. So I'm just trying to find the best possible student athlete for my program that has experience and see if I can get them in there.
Hey, Coach, how important is it you to get to the Atlanta area? I know Georgia Tech, Clark Atlanta, a lot of Kennesaw State, but how is it important to you to be a part of that Atlanta battle? Even though I know you have roots in a lot of other places, but just to kind of lock in Atlanta because it's full of talent.
Well, let me say this. When I first started in this business in 1992, my area was Decatur to Augusta, down to Albany, and come on back up. So, I got people all over the city that I know. I've been recruiting it when I was at Lehigh and Delaware State and Rice. I've always recruited Atlanta, so I know a bunch of people here. Right now, we probably have 6 or 7 Atlanta kids committed, and that's just off of relationships. I think it's important. I think it's a ton of talent here, but I think I'm going to rely, quite honestly, a lot on our logo, because we can go nationally. I don't have to, if I can't get what I really, really want in Atlanta, I don't have to settle. I can go to Maryland, I can go to New York, I can go to Chicago, I can go to Cali and get kids, and especially from the relationships I have. So we're going to be thorough in our backyard, but then we're going to have a blueprint to nationally recruit.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Good.
Wanted to jump in here and ask you a quick question. First of all, just full disclosure, I'm a Tuskegee grad also, and I'm going to put in the request to the Crimson Pipers that they play Reasons during the Classic in Birmingham. I'm going to go ahead and let them know about that for you. Just don't worry about that. But no, seriously, though, speaking of recruiting, given the price tag of a Morehouse, what type of unique challenge does that bring to you in your recruiting process? Because we know on the Division II level, full scholarships are not there. So we only have 36.
Right. So I think that one of the things we talk about a lot is how much is the logo worth and how much is the skyline of Atlanta worth. We talk a lot about that. And then, by us being, an academic school, if I stay with that mantra and I go find some kids with 3.5s, 3.7s, 3.8s, where they're going to get academic money, then I can stack it and we can reduce that cost. So everything I do, I'm looking to stack money and reduce costs. I told my guys, I said, look now, and I learned from a great dude, Isaac Collins, when I was at Seton Hill. He would put that thing out there like a used car salesman. Everything be itemized, laid out for the parents. This is what you're going to pay. This is this is that. You get your Pell, your SEOG, everything, your HOPE, your G tag. This is what your bill going to look like. So I use every resource possible to help my kids. And I'm even, because I'm tied into a lot of business people and my wife is actually been in career services. So a lot of times people send me stuff for scholarships. So I have no problem. They send it to me. I pass it on to the student athletes. Go apply for this. See if you can get your extra $500,000. So I'm trying to take a holistic approach to it.
Good stuff, Coach. Good stuff.
Go ahead, Felix.
Yeah, now, Coach, at Morehouse, I'm really interested in wondering, really what you guys think about as far as scheduling moving forward, because D2 did bring up a schedule earlier, and that's it's a little crazy. You got 7 road games to start the season. Moving forward and scheduling games, are there any schools in Georgia you're thinking about facing off against, or any old rivalries you want to bring back?
Honestly, I haven't even looked that far. Probably the first game I would want to play, we already played Howard, but just from when I was in school, I would love to play Hampton again, right? I always enjoyed playing at Hampton. I think it's something special up there. But other than that, no, not really. We got to be real cautious and careful with your schedule because, quite honestly, scheduling can destroy a coach. And people don't look at it like that, in college football. Like my first year, this is my grace period, but I got a murderous row coming out the gate. So that's not my schedule. So I got to get my schedule to make sure I take care of my program. So we'll work on that over the next couple of years. But the biggest thing for me is, just developing this program so we can get to where we want to go. Now, one idea I did bring up, we only play 10 games in the SIAC because we have the championship game. And the Pennsylvania Conference, the PSAC, has an unbelievable model where everybody plays 11 games, and your last game is always a conference game. And basically what happens, whichever teams are up for the championship, they exchange opponents. So let's just say the last week of the season, Morehouse and Clark are supposed to play, and Tuskegee and Miles are supposed to play the last week of the season. Well, if Tuskegee and Morehouse are the 2 best teams, then Tuskegee and Morehouse will go to the championship, and Clark and Miles will play each other. And sometimes you get repeat games, but that's okay. That happens every blue moon. But that's how the PSAC plays 11 games a year. And because right now we're missing out on the game of revenue. I could schedule an 11th game. I could get an earlier home game potentially if we played 11 games. So I've talked to my AD about it. Hopefully he brings it up at the AD's meeting so we can, get that type of scheduling to add a 11th game of revenue to our schedules.
That sounds like a conversation that I had with Commissioner Holloman back last year when he first told me about the 8-game scheduling model, and we talked about that in depth. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I just, I think we always got to be progressive, especially at Division II. Well, let me say this. Anytime you're not in a Power 5 conference, right, you got to be really, really thinking about how you're going to make money and bring money into your program. And you got to do it without selling your soul. So, you got to be creative with your scheduling. You got to identify the right games. Playing classics is always great, but the thing people don't ever talk to you about is how much of that money are you spending to travel? And I think that's something that gets lost. Like, I love a good classic, but if I'm going to spend my whole budget traveling, then the classic didn't do me no good. So we got to look at some things like that and make sure we're always making smart decisions.
Coach, when you were at Morehouse, was that Tuskegee Morehouse Classic in Columbus at nighttime?
Yes, sir. We won 2 of 3 as a coach, I think. No, I take that back. I apologize. We won my senior year and we won my first year coaching, and then I think we probably lost the next 2. But it was always a great rival, always a great battle. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. The mayor of Birmingham and the mayor of Montgomery are both Morehouse guys, and actually the mayor of Montgomery actually played for me at Morehouse, so I'm fired up to get to that game.
Okay, yeah, it's a lot of push from a lot of people to get that game back in Columbus. I've been seeing a lot of chatter around that.
The thing I would ask you, because I haven't been to Columbus, Georgia in 25 years. The things I would ask is, can Columbus still support, from hotels, from everything you need for that game? Because I just don't know.
I'll answer that for you, Coach, because I was at the last game that they played in Columbus. I went to the last couple of games that they played in Columbus, and I've gone to a couple of the Fountain City Classics in Columbus also. Heck yeah, Columbus could still support that game. That move to Birmingham may have been a money grab for the conference, because Birmingham could write a bigger check than the city of Columbus could, as far as taking care of some of those ancillary expenses that you were talking about. But as far as the atmosphere and everything that surrounded that game in Columbus, I think the atmosphere in Columbus better than the atmosphere in Birmingham, even though Tuskegee has a natural hub in Birmingham. So, but I just think the game should be back in Columbus. Honestly, I think Morehouse alums come down the road to Columbus because that's only a little bit over an hour out of Atlanta versus driving that 2 hours, 2+ hours to Legion Field in Birmingham. Plus, Legion Field is just a dump, man.
Right. Yeah, I played there a couple of years ago, and let me say this: I will always be about filling the stadium. You know what I mean? Like, I would rather play in a smaller venue and have it jam-packed than play in a huge venue, because I just think the atmosphere is so different. Unfortunately, the last 5 years at Rice, our stadium holds 45,000. We only got 4,000 students. Our best game there in 5 years, we had close to 30, and it still seemed empty. So, but when we go other places, a UAB, a FAU, FIU that has smaller venues, they will put 25,000 in there, the same number, but it felt so different because everybody's on top of you. So I love that stuff. So, I would probably, as long as we can pay all the bills, I would definitely vote to go back to Columbus.
Yeah, the only thing that sucks with Columbus is because the roads around the stadium, the traffic around the stadium gets terrible. But at the same time, when you go to Birmingham, you in that neighborhood, and it's tight in and out in that neighborhood also where Legion Field is. So
right,
it is what it is.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, we appreciate Morehouse Classic. I wish you much success. Go out and beat Virginia Union, beat Howard, beat all them folks. But when you get to Skeggy, I'm just not gonna root for you. But that's
Hey, let me tell you something. I am so honored. Like, really, guys, I was just popping on this call. I just wanted to drop my ear and see what y'all was talking about the rest of the league. But I am just so fired up to be back. It's something different. And me and my wife talk about it all the time. You know, it's taken me 27 years to get back. You know, so I'm in it to win it, and I'm very, very fortunate. My kids are grown, so I can be a full-time football coach and you know, give them everything I got. And like I say, we're here for the run, and I look forward to meeting all of you guys in person.
Hey, Coach, when is y'all homecoming? Who y'all got on the schedule for homecoming, Coach?
Kentucky State on the 28th. October 28th. We only got 2 home games, so.
See, you gave me my heart. Well, Coach, I write for G2football.com and cover the SIAC, so I'll definitely be there.
Definitely. We also got the co-president of CAU Players Association. I sent a request to you if you want to come up and just say a few words, which is Morehouse, their enemy across the street, their rival, I should say, across the street. He wanted to come over and kind of talk to us about where he sees Clark. We talked about Clark a little earlier, and their spring game and what they had going on. How you doing?
Hey, good evening, everyone. Well, good night. Well, it's 9:21 now, but just popping in. Definitely good to hear some conversations about SIAC football. Thanks for putting this together. I think we hear a lot of conversation about some other football leagues, and I still think some of the best football in the country is being played in the SIAC. As a co-president of the CAU Players Association, we definitely look forward and we welcome the new coach to Morehouse. I was at that last game of the year where they beat us at the end of the game, and I'm definitely looking forward to some spirited battles between Clark Atlanta and Morehouse. We had our spring game last week, and we got some things we need to continue to work on, and looking forward to next year. But I think we're looking forward to Slater having a much better year in his second year at the helm, coming to Clark Atlanta.
Hey, Coach, I'm requesting from both of y'all. I need a Morehouse T-shirt.
So I've been trying to gauge that to see how did the fan base really, and the alumni really embrace Coach Slater coming over.
I think from my perspective, I think it was good. The alumni base in general, the people who really know football, they know the history of Coach Slater and how many games that he's won at Tuskegee. So, I mean, I think most football people were excited about the prospects of Coach Slater, but I think some of them also wonder, had Coach Slater's time pass him by in terms of being able to relate to some of the newer generation of kids. Versus looking at what he's done. If you look at the SIAC, I mean, name five coaches that has the winning percentage that Coach Slater has. So I think you come with that history, but I think some people question whether Coach Slater could bring the winning ways into Clark Atlanta, and then whether he could still put together a good staff, relate to this generation. And if you look at it, most coaches are on social media, and as anyone who knows Coach Slater, that's just not happening.
Yeah, definitely. So I've just been really curious about that. When I saw him, when I came up that Thursday, I saw him. I said, well, at least he's been eating good because he has put on 3 pounds since he's been up there. But we looked at a certain things. I just still think one of my things, they're really small up front on that defensive line. And I wonder if that's going to be one of their areas that they address during this period coming up.
Yeah, that definitely seems to be a focus area from what I've seen. I wasn't at the game. I was out of town, but I heard a lot of reports back and looked at some of the film and stuff on my end. I think that's something that we definitely have to address is that defensive line. I think we're thin there, and then we had a few players, too, that were not eligible for spring. So that defensive line that you saw, we are hoping to get back probably 3 to 4 more defensive lineman who wasn't eligible for the spring game. So we have some little things. So that is definitely a need that we're looking at, and we should look a lot better next year with that. That's not our final defensive line. We were very, very small, but we were also shorthanded. We had a couple of them who also injured as well.
So, any more questions about Clark from anybody?
I mean, I think what's going on, K-Dog? It's Flex. I think one of the biggest questions.
I know Brown Sharif.
D2. Somebody told D2 let me talk, man.
Last year. Was he a senior last year?
Hey, D2.
D2, I can't hear you.
I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. My bad.
Yeah, no, K-Dog.
I couldn't hear you. I'm still having a few technical difficulties. So if I start talking and you talking, just tell me to shut up.
I got you. I'll do it.
100. I was asking about the quarterback situation, okay, dog. I know you guys had, I think, Sean Smith down there last year at quarterback. Really, you guys had a great tight end, a couple good receivers, too. Your tight end is going to go next year to the pros. Just on offense, bringing back guys, what type of guys should we look forward to seeing that on Clark's offense?
Yeah, I know one of the positions that we still have to kind of think sure for next year is the quarterback role. I know the quarterback from last year. Unfortunately, he won't be coming back next year from my sources with the team.
Wow.
We got two new quarterbacks that we were trying out in the spring game. I think one we got was a backup from Fort Valley that came on board, and we got another one from the transfer portal. So I think we don't have that position figured out just yet. We were excited about what we had coming back next year on offense, really good receivers. And we were excited about the offense this year and having some continuity and having another spring game with the quarterback. But from what I'm hearing, that quarterback won't be coming back next year. We'll be going with one or two that you saw out there in the spring last week.
Okay, so Brown is not coming back next year.
No, he's not.
Wow. Okay. And he wasn't a bad quarterback either.
He wasn't a bad quarterback. I mean, if you look at it, even if you look at Clark, and I think it's Slater's first year, if I had to kind of sum it up, if you look, I think besides the Albany State game, I mean, we were literally in every game in the fourth quarter. All things considered, I think Slater had a pretty good first year. The record may not show, but he put a competitive score out there last year. I think he did a good job with working with the quarterback and the quarterback's coach. He got better. If you look at the film from game one to the end, he got better with finding the open receiver and making better reads and really shoring up kind of his footwork, which he struggled with early on in the season. So we were definitely looking forward to him coming back. I think he was getting better every single game. And I think overall last year, considering that being Slater's first year and, he came in late in the season, and the people he played with last year wasn't his recruit. So this would be Ritter Slater's first offseason with bringing his guys in to the program. That's why we're excited to see how things are gonna vote next year with Slater having a full year of recruiting and bringing his guys in. But we will have a new quarterback at the helm next year.
I want to make sure nobody else is talking before I start.
Okay.
You good?
So, that's a bummer for me. I was really expecting Brown to come. Going back and looking back at the season, especially that Tuskegee game, I thought he really came. He really showed that he had heart and he could lead that team. And so to hear that he's not going to be back, I can understand that's a little disappointing. But I respect Slater, what Slater did for us at Tuskegee, even though I don't hope that he does that for you all. But
and we definitely should have won that Tuskegee game. We guys had you on the ropes there in the fourth quarter, and we let you guys off the hook, to use the famous word. We let you guys off the hook that game. We definitely played some good football that game. We let you guys off the hook there in the end.
Yeah, that was one of the times where that was one of our shootouts, and then we didn't play our starting quarterback that game. We ended up playing a freshman that game in Davis, and so from the quarterback play from both of them, I thought that they did really good that game. So I really had high hopes for Brown going into this season, but overall, I mean, they look like, like you said, they have some areas that they need to address. But I got a little faith, that Slater can get y'all to 5 wins this season.
I mean, honestly, in the grand scheme of things, if Slater finished the season at 500, honestly, that would be a lot of happy alumni in terms of the direction of the program. If he gets them to 500, and if he gets a winning season, they may want to put a statue for him here. So if we win 500, we'll feel good about the direction of the program. And one of the things that I will say that Dr. French did, that when he first came here, he came on campus and he did his own presentation of all the rings that he won at Miles. And so he came in, and for the first time in years at CAU now, we have our full allotment of scholarships now. Before, we didn't have a full allotment. So the president has put his money where his mouth is. And so I think Slater doesn't have a lot of excuses now, because he does have the full allotment of scholarship that we haven't had in probably 20 years.
Because he basically coming up. And I went to the Clark spring game, so there was a lot of people that was like, "Oh yeah, y'all coming to see y'all coach? Do y'all want him back?" Yeah, it was a good time. And we look forward to hosting y'all, because y'all come to Tuskegee later on in the season this year. I think the last time we played Clark, that late in the season, y'all end up beating us. Yeah, I think I see Team 2 beat Slater actually after like 2 seasons. When we play him late in the season. So I look forward to Clark coming down. I know he'll have those guys up and ready to come back down to the bowl.
Yeah, we'll be there. I'm the president of the Players Association. I played football at Clark Atlanta from 2001 2005. So we go to all the away games, and we're gonna bring our grill. So we'll be out there grilling early on that day. But it's always a nice environment. You can't find a better football environment than coming down there to Old Country Tuskegee, man. They love their football in Tuskegee, I can tell you that.
Definitely.
I'm sure you guys have had a lot of banter before I could jump on, but what it seems to be the consensus of who's the front runner to win the conference this year?
It's probably mixed up here. You got people. it's gonna be mixed up here. We really diverse. You got your Benedict guy up here. You got your Fort Valley guy, and of course you got your Tuskegee guys up here. And we never gonna say we behind anybody.
But I'll be objective. Like if Fort Valley wasn't in it, I would
definitely. Who do y'all play first? Who's your first game?
So I know Clark. We opened up with Tuskegee. I'm sorry. We opened up with Kentucky State. We go to Frankfurt.
Yep, on a Thursday.
On a Thursday game. Yeah, there's kind of a kickoff. So we're gonna be down there. Actually, we'll probably go down on a Tuesday. We're gonna have charter a bus to Players Association. And we're gonna get a few hotels down there. So we're gonna have it's kind of like the SIAC kickoff, if you will, down in Kentucky State and Frankfurt on the Thursday to kick the season off.
Okay. That's what's up. Trying to go through to see who else. We hadn't talked about Allen. Anybody heard anything out of Allen? I know they had their spring game Saturday as well.
Was it streamed?
You had their coach on the space before, and one of the issues he talked about, they wanted to be able to get some DBs to be able to stop people from scoring. They have a powerful quarterback in David Wright. Great quarterback. If anybody heard anything about them.
Was the game streamed anywhere?
I don't think that game was streamed. And I don't know anybody who really keeps up with Allen.
I don't think it was streamed anywhere. I actually didn't hear anything out of Allen this weekend.
And I want to just keep saying that
I've
is
just
sad.
been looking at some of the guys that they bought in, and just their coach. I know one of their top receivers went into the portal. I don't know if he went out yet. I hadn't seen him pick up any offers, but that's just been something I've been watching on the side. They were competitive in a lot of games. Whether or not, they're able to take that next step, that remains to be seen. Who else had this spring game? Anybody know? When is Central State's spring game?
I haven't heard.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't heard when this spring game was.
Okay. I got a lot of expectations for them. I think they're going to be the first team to knock off a SWAC team this season. They got Mississippi Valley State up first, and I think that's a prime game for the SIAC to slip in there and get one on Mississippi Valley. I'm not really sure about since we own the SIAC versus the SWAC. I know we got that Lane and A&M matchup kind of early on in the season. It just depends on whoever Lane. Can they get another quarterback? I think Michael Huntley was like one of the better quarterbacks to come through Lane in quite some time.
I think Huntley is back. They had their spring game yesterday, I want to say. I think Huntley is back.
I thought he was done after last year. Let me see.
I did too, but I think Huntley is back.
Okay. I'm gonna have to check in there. I'm actually hitting him up right now to see. If Huntley is back, then I wonder, does Ike Brown go back? Because their running back also hit the portal. And if Ike Brown goes back, then I might be back on my. Last year I had Lane. I thought last year was Lane's shot to win the conference. They just kind of fell apart. They went and shot Tennessee State. They shot the world with Tennessee State. They were athletic, especially at those skill positions, but could they just maintain, the entire season? I don't think they quite had the depth. Like if one guy went down, it was such a drop off between the next guy that they had. They got a new defensive coordinator. They got Tuskegee's defensive line coach. He's not a defensive coordinator. So they'll be interesting. If Huntley is back, I
think Huntley is back. Yeah, I saw that I want to say that they had put some stuff on Twitter about this spring game yesterday. But yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think Huntley is back. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, we'll see if he reads it. I hit him up. I really thought that he was going, but if he is, man, hey, shouts out to Coach Brown. And I don't think he gets enough credit for what he's done. 2 winning seasons at Lane. If you know where Lane was, that's an accomplishment what he has done at Lane, to have him competitive and to go out and beat a Tennessee State. That's quality stuff for Lane. And to play Pine Bluff. They lost by extra point or something to Pine Bluff. 49, 48, something like that. So they can compete. I for one think this is the year where we might have the SIAC could possibly end the season with a winning record against the SWAC. Last year we heard about how much talent the SWAC had, how much, better the SWAC had gotten because of the Dion, impact on the SWAC and the types of players they were getting. You look at every SIAC team that a SWAC team played. The SIAC team was in the game, was in striking distance. I'm quickly reminding people that a 1-9 Miles kept Bama State scoreless for 3 quarters. You know, you talk about Albany State in that FAMU game. I mean, when they beat them by 10 points. I mean, this is arguably what they say the second best team in the SWAC.
And scored first.
Getting taken down, you know, to the wire with the third best team in the conference. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so what we did not see is the hype they had around the SWAC, because the SIAC teams competed very well against, in a couple of those games that I feel like, you know, a call here or there, we could have won. So this season, you know, the post-prime era in the SWAC, I think it's prime reason for the SIAC to take those games. You know, those Alabama State, Alabama A&M versus Tuskegee, those games are always toss-ups. I just was reminded Alabama State fan the other day that he said something about the last time we played them, they beat us 49-7. I said, but you're 7-13 in the last 20 meetings with this Division II team. So, you know, like, I don't know. If you want to celebrate that, celebrate it. I mean, and it took you to beat a 5-5 team. Man. You know, like, it's not like it was one of Tuskegee's better years that you were able to do this. But Tuskegee has beaten Bama State on their good years. You know, you take the 2007 season where we beat the SWAC champ on the East and the West, you know. So it's just we got a lot of matchups. A lot of teams play either one or two D2 teams. We got the Savannah State Bethune-Cookman matchup. I think that one's gonna be real interesting.
That's gonna
win that. I feel like they're gonna win that.
Yeah, that's gonna be a really good game.
Yeah, that's the one that I had that one circled real closely. And Ski has A&M for homecoming. We go up there for their homecoming. So that in itself, you know, those rivalry games, you know, hey, who knows?
Y'all Tuskegee, you might go ahead and put the nail in Maynard's coffin.
Oh man!
Hey yo!
I'm just telling the truth. They might go ahead and put the nail in Maynard's coffin. You gotta realize that Maynard won the SWAC in the COVID year. You know what I mean? So that game that can get you, especially if Tuskegee gets a quarterback play. Don't be surprised if Tuskegee wins that game.
My only thing with A&M though is that they lost for them. Like,
because you can look at the year that the Slaters last year. I think they had us like 30, 40 point underdogs, because that's the year coming out of Keel Glass, his last season at A&M. We played them in Mobile, and most people just really wrote that game off because of the season that Tuskegee was having. But Tuskegee went down there and, I mean, shocked me. I didn't think we stood a chance, to be honest with you. But we went down there, and I mean, we would play here, play there, and that game would have been Skee's. So I think that's a testament to, just like K-Dog said, about we play really good ball in this conference. It doesn't always show against out-of-conference Division II opponents, especially when we start talking about that conference.
That GSC now.
You know, like, that's a whole nother ball game there. But I think when it comes down to playing the FCS, even though I know the big gap in scholarships in there, but I mean, the SIC schools have proven that they can compete with those teams. So we just have to wait and see.
Well, like I said, don't be surprised if that leaves the nail in Maynard's coffin. They already ain't happy with them.
Now, you know, that caused a lot of controversy on that Wednesday night Twitter Space show on HBCU Nightly. They said that they were saying something about Maynard. They were having a discussion, and some of the A&M people got into their feelings about it. But I do think that that could definitely get Maynard's seat really warm. Ski comes up there, and then wouldn't that be their second home? Because then they lose homecoming last season too. Yeah, I think that would get that seat, you know, get people looking to say, but he's not who we thought he was. And I will say, Skiggy is 0-4, 0-5 against Maynard right now. At both places. He beat us twice when he was at Winston-Salem, and he has beaten us. So with 0-3 because he's beaten us once with A&M.
I'm just saying, like, they lost a generational quarterback in Akil Glass. You know what I mean? So yeah, he has to come from that.
But he brought in the kid. What's the kid? What's the kid that started for most of the year for them? The kid that transferred from Jackson.
Quincy Casey.
Yeah, and Casey's not a bad quarterback either now. But I understand what you're saying by losing a generational quarterback because Glass is really good.
Yeah, he wanted to kill Glass though, especially in that run heavy conference. If he had to kill Glass, man, it would have been. It might have been different for some of them games last year. He didn't have him because he's gone.
Yeah, I'm not too sure how the Maynard seat is at A&M, but circling back to our SIAC versus SWAC conversation, I think it's some very big matchups and a lot of winnable matchups for the SIAC coming up. Kind of change subject a little bit, but the Mississippi Valley and Central State game early in the year, I think that bodes well for Central State. Valley has a new coach in Kendrick Wade. Yeah, the Savannah State versus Bethune-Cookman game in week 2. Bethune-Cookman also has a new head coach. Savannah State runs a very ball-controlled, run-heavy offense. And then moving on with the Alabama A&M and Alabama State games for Tuskegee and Lane versus Alabama A&M, I think the SIAC could make out like around 500 in these matchups. Yep. And I don't think that it would be in a dominating fashion. I think it's going to be hard-fought games. But I think the SIAC can abuse these matchups with these new head coaches.
But you got to say this with Wade. Wade was at Fort Valley.
Yeah, definitely, so man.
He knows what's good.
That
State might know what's good.
I start this talk off saying if Miles at Alabama State would have played yesterday, yesterday, Miles would have won. Bama State has their woes. I tell you, they have their woes, and I mean, Miles has theirs.
So what's going?
Go ahead.
Yeah, what's going on with Bama State and Davis? He just ain't took the step yet, or
I want to start with their offensive line. I think maybe they're missing some pieces that they once had. They just don't. Their offense just seems really flat. I don't know whether it is a culture problem surrounding their offense, but it's really stagnant. Now you go back and look at the final score. I mean, they scored a few to kind of make it look like it was a decent game, but I think at one point it was like 39-7. The defense had like 39 to the offense 7. The offense was able to score. I think you're going to see them be more of a run type offense this season. I see a lot of those same things, those same types of schemes that he's running, that he ran at Morehouse. I actually tweeted a tweet that I tweeted in 2019, how he runs that bunch trip set. I saw a lot of that because I'm always curious why he runs when he runs out of that, but he runs it right, and I'm curious. It's not like it doesn't seem like an offense that's going to be able to compete well in the SWAC, like what it looked like. Even their fans, like I heard a lot of their fans tell them, they need to go get Phoenix. They need to go get Phoenix out of the portal. I don't think Davis is a bad quarterback because in time, he's accurate. When he scrambles out, sometimes those taller ends, those ends that get in those passing lanes with their hands, it's easier because of how his passes come off. It's easier for them to deflect, so he has to kind of, when he's trying to escape the pocket. So I think they're going to have to figure something out with that. But I'm pretty sure they're evaluating, because that's one thing that I think the coach said about evaluating these positions. So, they're still looking, because this is the first time this new window has opened in the portal around this time. I think it wasn't supposed to open in May, right? And then they moved it, so it opens up yesterday, today, one of those days it opened up. Some of those deficiencies that they have up front. So we'll just have to see. But I think Miles, like from a production standpoint, productivity, Miles has a pretty solid. I think Miles has a shot to take State down this year.
Good evening, everybody. How y'all doing?
Good.
Good. How you doing?
Sports Network. Great. How about yourself?
So
Amazing.
how do y'all feel about Miles with the whole head coaching transfer thing, with the head coach from last year going up to the AD role, and with them having a new person as a head coach? Is it just business as usual? Is it just? No, I'm sorry, that's actually Tuskegee. I'm getting mixed up.
No, I mean, as far as what to answer that is, it was to be expected. It was announced last year that was going to happen.
Right.
SIAC Media Day. I was chiming in on the part where you was talking about Alabama State. You remember now, Alabama State lost 2 out of the 3 running backs that they had over there with them last season. Dunn, who transferred over from Morehouse, is gone. I believe the other young man that they had back there, they had a name for him, was it Earth, Wind, and Fire? So the only person that's left, I think, is Merritt, Corey Merritt. Was it Miles Crowley transferred from Alabama State to Grambling? So now you don't have a backup quarterback for D. Davis. And remember, D. Davis was hurt often last season. So that's another thing you got to keep in mind as well. Yes, they are going to run the ball more so this season than they did last season. And I believe they lost, I think like 1 or 2 linemen over there on the offense as well. So you're going to see a lot of changes with Alabama State this upcoming season. And yes, if Maynard don't tighten up, his behind is going to be, that hot seat going to be a little hotter than he been. So definitely, we're going to see some wild games this season, especially when the SIAC plays the SWAC teams.
Do you think State will try to pull the trigger on Phoenix?
I don't know, because I think if I'm not mistaken, me personally, I wouldn't have brought the offensive coordinator over for when I watched him coach, was it against Albany State? When Albany State came to Atlanta and played them over at Lakewood, I think Albany State defeated. His play calling just wasn't there. And if I'm not mistaken, he was averaging like 13 points per game that season. So I just didn't quite understand the mix for him going to Alabama State. Not only that, but you're going to see the head coach for Rock. You're going to see him come out there and try to adjust plays like he did last season. There's a lot of plays that was being called by the OC that Robinson would go back and say, "Nah, we ain't running that. Run something different." Go back and watch some of them games. You would actually see it happen out there on the field, especially that Jackson State game. So that's why I said it's a lot of chaos that's going on that everybody got to pay close attention to it. That's happening out there on the sidelines.
Yeah, one of the things that I said, my thing was when I saw the offense, I mean, it looks like a Morehouse. It looks like one of the old Morehouse's offense, and that's, not trying to disparage the guy, but it just does. Like that's what I saw.
He done changed up now with that offense. So when you said that bunch set, then they turn around and run out of it. Yeah, it's like I said, that offense is so stagnant and just basic. I mean, if you sit down and watch film on it, you'll catch on real quick to what he does and get an understanding of what you need to do to just, shut it down. I mean, that's what's really going to hurt them. I mean, you got to understand, D. Davis is a athlete out there on the field. I think I want to say roughly he's 5'10", 5'11". So if you got bigger linemen out there in front of him, he can't see over them linemen, so he got to roll around in the pocket. And for him, allowing him to take off and run like he did last season, that doesn't bode well for him either. But we're going to see how it goes.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I was just, really expecting more. I don't know why I was expecting more, but I was expecting more. And I think The defense seems pretty solid. I don't know if they're as solid as years past. Because when State had the two big guys clogging the middle, they were just hard to move the ball on, honestly. So I don't know. I was a bit curious as to why he was his pick for offensive coordinator from the jump street, and I mean he's a Tuskegee man. Okay, so I still love the brother. But I was a bit confused by that too. But it bodes well for Miles and it bodes well for Tuskegee. I can say that. I'm not as uneasy about us going in and maybe getting one of those wins. At least one of us, either Miles or Tuskegee, getting the win from them for the company.
As far as the Tuskegee team, I think they're going to be okay. Who is that? They should still have a quarterback that transferred over there from Alabama State.
Nettles, he's still there.
Okay. Yeah, I think Ruffin, Coach Ruffin. I think Ruffin had a coach set up pretty well for him to do good over there at Tuskegee this upcoming season. As far as we're getting the athletes in there and getting them, prepared for the season, I think they're gonna do okay. I'm trying to figure out what I mean. I don't think y'all touched on Benedict, but I'm trying to figure out what they're gonna do. Lane College, they still got a couple of pieces that they need to get in there and get things, solved as far as we're getting over the hump. As you stated previously, yes, they were in games, especially against who was that, UAPB. Both times they played them. They had opportunities to win those type of games that didn't come through for them. But talking to some of those guys in the past, I mean, they're very competitive. They love coach, and they just want to get out there and make it happen. Now it's just a matter of what additions they're going to have come out there that's going to be able to put up and get them, positioned where they need to go. Because, the head coach, he's fiery and he's competitive. He don't like to lose at all. I mean, I don't think no coach does, but I mean, he really likes to get after with them guys and let them know what they can do. Be it that he played, he's a running back for Grambling, and now he's coaching Lane College. I mean, I'm like, hey, you got to give him his props. But I know one thing that I did when I was talking to them previously, they talk about how people say, oh, here come old Lane College. Like, Lane College is going to lay down and just give him a win. They said, no, that time and era is gone. So I'm like, I really want to see what they're going to do this.
When Lane beat Fort Valley, that was my eyes. When they beat
Damien,
Fort
are you speaking?
No, that's not me. That's somebody else.
That's me.
Lane, I had them to be honest with you, early in the season, I had this being Lane's year. I just feel like they had the pieces there this season to really get there, and they just fell short in some games. But definitely, I talk about Coach Brown all the time and just the job that he's done over there. We talked about Benedict. Coach Thomas, who's also a co-host on this show, he's a Benedict grad, and he's hyped. So I think we all kind of split down the middle. I'm not really sure. I'm not really high on them repeating as the SIAC champs, but I think their defense is going to be extremely solid, which is going to put them in the game regardless, just because I think their defensive core and what they have coming back is just so strong on the defensive side.
Who we haven't talked about? We ain't talked about Albany.
Don't do it.
We want to talk about.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
That's my favorites right there.
Now, me and Flitz was talking about the quarterback battle that they are having.
Yep, that boy Isaiah Knowles is a bad boy. That's problems.
But he's bad enough to be your favorite? Is that like the favorites in the SIAC, like in general?
Yeah. Okay, I want to talk. Are you talking data?
No, I think you're good, D2. K-Dog wasn't talking.
But Albany thing, I didn't that was the same weekend. He had there. I didn't get a chance to look at on the court. Here in the conference. Not everybody. Like, what are they gonna be? Like, how's their offense gonna look? I know they were saying that what's the they were really thinking. I know some of the talk was they were just thinking, could they trust him to throw the ball as many times they want him to throw the ball? And so that's going to be interesting. I was looking at some of the games. Like, he had some games where he didn't throw the ball over 12 times. So, can he throw the ball 30, 35 times a game for them? And they be comfortable with it. And, of course, bringing in the Navy transfer, I think, added to that room to help push that competition for Albany. But just from what I've seen, the clips I've seen, just the energy around the program, I don't expect to see much of a drop off from Albany State, to be honest with you. Probably less than what I initially thought.
I just don't think they're the favorite.
Yeah, Albany State, they're losing. What I'll say, they're from their SIAC championship run, they're losing some of those type of players, right? You're losing Stephen Pierre, right, with 30 big linebacker, rangy guy that could do it all for Albany State. But I do think moving forward, though, this Quinn Gray team is gonna be a pass happy team, and I think that they have a couple of the pieces needed to execute this play style. I really feel like at this point in the offseason, Quinn Gray and what Albany State has, the different tools that he can play with, I think it may be enough to win the SIAC. Now, I do like Fort Valley a lot, also like Benedict a lot still. I don't think Albany's running away with this title by any means. I think it'll take a lot. I think the winner will probably have multiple conference losses. But I think where Albany has the upper hand is at quarterback. I really like what Isaiah Knowles is doing, this small sample size I have. I like what I'm seeing from him, and I believe in Quinn Gray's offense at Albany State, and that is really the reason why I have them as my favorites.
It'll just be interesting to see Albany State has been a pass-happy team. Think about some of those like great coach Mike White teams. I mean, they had some of the best offensive defensive linemen in the conference, and they were just going to run the ball down your throat. They were very opportunistic with play-action pass, but man, it's hard to see Albany State turn into a 40-45 passing game team when they've had some of the most dominant offensive linemen in the SIAC. And you look at the past 20 years and those years of Mike White when he dominated the conference.
Yeah, definitely. And we've talked about that on past shows. To see the conference as a whole kind of like shifting. For a while, we were a really run-heavy conference because especially when Savannah State came back, look at the type of offense Kentucky State was running for a little while. Like it was running. Slater was a run first guy. To see the conference now, the air raid type of guy, Kentucky State. Within the next 2 years, this conference is going to look totally different. And so I feel like that's interesting to see. But fellas, we have hit the 9 o'clock mark. I want to appreciate y'all. We just not starting back, get everybody back in the groove. I got to do some more promotion. We're going to keep on working this thing, get more of a little format, start getting some guests to come back. I can tell you now, I want to do a show. We do like a parent appreciation show where I'm going to these parents groups and get them all in to try to like build this community from the inside out, because we don't have a lot of spaces where we can go and talk SIAC football. But we play the game. people support our sports. People want to see content with their babies, with their schools. So I want to definitely bog down and try to build that out. I appreciate all y'all for coming in, sticking it out. And before you get off, tell the people how they can follow you and give your favorite to win your too early preseason favorite to win the conference. I know Flick already gave his, and I'll give you mine. Of course, it's Tuskegee for me. But we'll go around there. Y'all can give y'all favorite and we'll sign off.
I'm going with my favorite. They're going to shock the world. I'm going with Morehouse.
Okay.
There's going to be a big shock. I like what Coach Wilcher is doing over there. The guys is buying in. I just think that a lot of people going to look at them like, oh, they were 1-9 next year. They're going to sleep on them. And then then next thing they know, they're going to find themselves in the game. So I'm going with Morehouse. That's who I'm going with.
For me, I like that pick. For me, if I'm being biased, of course, I'll say Fort Valley. But I would say don't sleep on Benedict. Like what I saw last year, really from that coaching side, like it really convinced me. So I think that Benedict could, really run it back. But they might not be dominating. They might not be blowing folks out by 20 points, like 4 or 5 touchdowns. But I think they're going to still be dangerous. So I think Benedict, you can't sleep on them. But I think it's going to end up being Benedict and Fort Valley.
I mean, I'm biased at CAU, and I think in year 2 of Slater, I think we're going to see some better strides. And some of those games that we were in last year, I think we're going to, with the spring season and the team getting more continuity, we'll be able to win some of those ball games. I predicted we're going to finish at a little over 500, which would be a huge accomplishment for Slater at CAU in his second year. But I'm going with Benedict, too. I think Benedict, just a culture that I've been hearing, they're sitting there at Benedict. Some of the people that they have coming back, I think they're gonna be a strong favorite to repeat again. And exactly, I will say Tuskegee. Coach James, he coached at Clark Atlanta when I was here, so I know him well. And I just think that Tuskegee they're still set up to make a run next year. So those are my 2.
All right, my favorite is Albany State. Of course, like I mentioned, I think what Allen University did last year and showing us a pass out the attack in the SIAC really showed some exploits in this conference. And I think that Albany State, Coach Quinn Gray, they'll take the SIAC. Also, stay in touch with me, Kelly Flicks, on Mondays. Got a show on Mondays on YouTube. Go ahead, check out my profile. Check the link out and tap in with me. 30 minutes of HBCU football.
This is difficult. I got a son at Fort Valley and one at Albany State.
You got on the half and half shirt at the game, huh?
I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna go with neither one and just show them with how I show up. But I think Fort Valley's gonna. I think Fort Valley's gonna do something special this year. They got a lot of talent coming into the program. I actually coached a couple of kids that was recruited to that program this year. That's going to be nice for them. So I think Fort Valley's going to, with what they're adding, I think they're going to be all right. I want to say Benedict. I'm kind of, on the fence with that. I got to do a little bit more research on the quarterback position. Because remember last year, the quarterback that they had come in, he transferred over from Southern University. So he already knew the offense that Coach liked to run over there. So I'm gonna say Benedict, but I'm gonna say Benedict and Fort Valley. I kind of want to go with somebody on. I want to go with somebody on the other side of that bracket. I really want to say, I want to see Miles College do something. I'm gonna say Miles and Fort Valley. That's what I'm gonna go with. And I'm Coach Walker from Tomorrow Leader Sports Network. Y'all can catch a lot of your HBCU content over on my YouTube channel. I talk about the SIAC, well as the CIAA, the SWAC, and the MEAC. So I put up, some of everything over there. So y'all can check me out also over there on YouTube. I appreciate y'all letting me come on and speak tonight.
No problem. Appreciate you coming up. Well, look, appreciate y'all for coming in. We're going to get this thing back on the schedule. I'm going to get with my co-host. We're going to get a schedule up and let y'all know. And we'll be back. Y'all come back and check us out.
You're locked into HBCU Post Radio.
Baby, what you wanna do?
HBCU Post Radio is your #1 source for news, news, information, and discussions about HBCU life and culture. From sports to politics and what's trending on yours. We're always in the heart of the culture. You don't want to miss this. Tune into HBCU Pulse Radio every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central on SiriusXM Channel 142 HBCU. Like what you hear?
Yeah.
Subscribe to HBCU Pulse Radio on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, head to hbcupulse.com to stay up to date on what's going on in the HBCU community. Thank you for listening to HBCU Pulse Radio.